lupus. Hi, this is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan, he's a Corgi, and we're here for an episode of Conversations with a Corgi. So we have been on a bit of a series about alternative medicine, complementary medicine, holistic techniques, whatever you call it. But we're going to interrupt that today for an interesting thing I learned over the last few days. So also an update on several things that have been going on. Come home from being away. When I left Friday morning, that moose was so rank. I could even smell him in the garage when I opened the door to leave to go to the T-Touch clinic. So now he's not too stinky, which is a good thing because it's super humid. But the vultures have been replaced with bald eagle. One bald eagle. I think the vultures are afraid of the eagle. The eagle is bigger and more fierce. And so that eagle hopefully has a big appetite, because I don't know if he can compare to 12 vultures, but I have not gone down there to inspect. When the weather's colder, I might try that, and we are supposed to get, colder mornings end of next week. So there's that going on. And I just got back from driving 1,000 miles from here to New Jersey to Virginia to the Tellington T-Touch clinic, which was so busy because it was only 2 days long, and we're so used to having a week, 5 days, 3 days to work with these horses, and we just had so much to do, and some great horses were there, and wonderful people with them, and who also came to attend the class. So that was crazy busy, and I was able to do one little Facebook Live about a horse named Falcon, who's a Morgan Connemara cross, and he was just so nervous being away from his group, and he was so high-headed when he first came into the ring. I have several pictures of him I have to post of him, the way he was when Linda met him, and after just the littlest bit of work, very gentle, he had his head lowered and was more comfortable, and certainly the labyrinth helped with that a lot. He was a really cool horse. I really liked seeing him, and sadly I had to leave at noon on Sunday, and I was scheduled to work the afternoon with him and his owner, but I couldn't stay to do that. Oh look, we have Suzanne. Hi Suzanne. Oh, anyway, so I had to leave before I could do more work with Falcon. But I also saw my friend Judy, who has a horse that I've worked with long distance doing emotion code work with great success. And I also got to connect with Deborah, who has a horse named, I call her Cammy. Camille is her real name. And she was a jumper at some very high level stables around New York City and New Jersey. And just her stifles and back are sore, but she loves her person. They have a great relationship, and it was so amazing to see how Camille was so inquisitive with new people, so trusting of them, nosing their pockets, gently checking them out, turning around when they were doing things she liked. And because this so rarely happens, that a horse is just friendly and inquisitive, the poor people were so nervous and scared that she might bite or push them or something, which was totally not in her intention. So that was a big learning moment for them, and an interesting thing for me to see again the results of treating an animal with respect and compassion, to see how Camille has such a wonderful relationship with her person and trusts her so much, and her person has gone to so much effort to make this horse really comfortable in her body and to just do what she needs for the moment and for her health. And Deborah was learning dressage like so many women my age and older who have horses at the mid section of their life. And because you're not jumping, you think that you're not needing to work as hard or not as athletic, but in fact dressage is, having done both disciplines, really taxing on your body, because you have to ride a horse doing any discipline, you have to do nothing. And learning to just sit there is really hard, especially if your saddle doesn't fit you or the horse. Your body has to be in the proper alignment for you to sit there and do nothing and allow the horse to do what you're asking. And so many times over the years and years of giving lessons, people like me, when I rode hunt seat, I thought I was supposed to grip with my knees. Learning to ungrip with my knees was a huge, hard thing for me, because I was so out of balance. I didn't know how else to stay on the horse. And one of the tests you can do if you're truly in balance and over the center of gravity of your horse is do a 2-point at the trot. And if it is easy to balance there, then you are in a good alignment with your horse, with your center of gravity over his. But if you were like me 30 years ago, 40 years ago, you're riding around gripping your knees, and your ability to do that 2-point depends on how long your thigh muscles will last. And that is not helping your horse, because you're interfering with his motion coming from his hind end to his front, and he can't jump if that's the way you're riding. So anyway, this woman, Deborah, who has this horse, has really just gone to a lot of effort to find an instructor that she feels comfortable with, to fire instructors when they weren't a good fit for her. And this horse loves to jump. In spite of all the jumping she's done in her younger days, she still loves to jump. Her ears go up, her eyes brighten. And so this person is going to start doing low-level jumps with this horse. And of course, for this horse that was a Grand Prix jumper, those are big fences, to trot around the ring, canter around the ring, gently doing 2-foot cross rails and straight bars with a beginning jumper mom is a wonderful thing for her. It's fun. So it's a really great thing to respect what your horse needs and to honor her wishes and to make a choice to ride in a discipline that's going to work for her. And thank God this owner, Deborah, was such a star in another way, because she had a dressage instructor, as I did, who was pretty mean. Really, mine was downright abusive. And I think this person was a little abrupt with the person as well, telling her to pull her face in, pull her face in. Anyone who rides dressage knows that's not what you do when you do dressage. You engage the hind end. There's no pulling the face in. And, a horse that's done Grand Prix jumping can do pretty low-level dressage pretty easily if they've done a good job. And this horse was a super good performer. I remember seeing her jump at Madison Square Garden years ago. So anyway, so this woman, thank God, knew that didn't feel right. It didn't sound right. It was hard on her body. She knew it was wrong. And so she just stopped taking lessons with that instructor. And we all need to be able to speak up for our animals and get rid of an instructor that's not working for us and not working for our horse. If this person could find a great centered riding instructor, that would be really fun for her. Because then she's learning what she wants to learn, which is about connection with the horse. Riding with the horse as partners and enjoying what you're doing and just being happy that you're both happy. So many riders are not 100% happy with what they're doing, and people are yelling at them, and their horses aren't happy with what they're doing. Because you're a dressage rider and you bought a warm blood, you're going to ride dressage. Maybe that horse needs to be a jumper. Maybe he wants to be an endurance horse. We did have a woman with a warm blood at this clinic who does endurance riding because she likes to ride in the woods. She likes that freedom of being out there with this great big horse that looks so much like my horse Burger's in a giant size. And they have a great relationship as well. Again, respecting the wishes of your animal can make such a huge difference in your performance and your time and your happiness with them. So it's really critical, I think, to see what your animal wants to do and do that with him. And you'll learn so much more about yourself and your animal. This little guy, Tristan, really wants to do agility, and I can't find anyone around here to help me, so we just play in the yard with it. And luckily, at one of the Corgi shows, we discovered Rally, and he does dog dancing with me, or my interpretation of it, because I love doing freestyle with my horses. So, and so Rally is a step towards doing more freestyle. And if I drive 2 hours up to New York, there's a wonderful person named Karen who has done freestyle with Corgis for years, and she can help me. So I am doing that with Tristan because he likes it. It's fun for him. Nose work, I don't think he'd like so much. I mean, It's easier for me maybe to walk around with him and let him do nose work, and he might be good at it, but it's not his favorite thing. He loves to run and jump. That's his favorite thing. And with Rally, he gets to do a couple little jumps, and you know, being a Corgi, he likes herding, and a lot of Rally is hurting your mother, heeling around a course and demonstrating your good heeling. And you know, he won a little prize at a fun dog show for heeling, so that was pretty fun. Oh look, we have another person joining us. Hi, Vic. He says hi. So the other thing that I want to talk about, which is somewhat related to doing what your animals love to do, and I probably is going to do a whole episode on this, but it kind of fits right here because it was another eye-opening thing. So I'm coming back from Maryland and Virginia on Sunday, and the traffic is horrendous. What should have been a 2-hour drive turned into a 5 or 4 hour drive, which is terrible when you have another 5-hour drive after you get to New Jersey. So I made a pit stop at my mom's. I wasn't going to do it, but then I realized that I could do a little swing, stop at the gas station near their house, go through their house, and swing back around to the highway without having to get lost or worry about where I was going, because it was a little tricky down there in Virginia. So my mom, because Tristan's a herding dog and he has a herding certificate, he's herded ducks mostly, my mom's got her chickens out. And I said, oh, Mom, will you please let Tristan help us herd the chickens in? And she's like worried about her chickens. She says, oh, my gosh, he won't eat them, Willie. And I said, and Corgi people may disagree. I said, oh, my God, no, he's a herding dog. He will not eat your chickens. And I do know Corgis who have caught and killed rabbits in the yard, but not mine. Certainly not mine. They herd rabbits. So, and because I know he's a good herder, I knew he wouldn't hurt the chickens. Plus, he's really responsive if I call him back. So I put him into the area where the chickens were, which my sister has separated from the dog area of the backyard with some X-pen fences zigzagged out and thankfully clipped to each end so that they're not going to fall down that easily. And my mom's Schnauzer was in with us. It's a standard Schnauzer, also not a chicken eating kind of dog. But the Cavaliers were out. These guys are little. They don't weigh more than like 12 or 15 pounds. And my sister has been using one named Shayna to just hold on a leash, because Shayna loves to play. She wants something to do. She likes to play Frisbee, and just have her kind of follow around, and the chickens are nervous with a dog, and it helps get the chickens in. Well, so Shayna was out there, and so was George, one of my mom's little buddies. She babysits him a lot when my sister was away, but prior to being in the same household with George. And George and Shayna pushed down that little X-pen fence, which is about 2 feet high, and got into where the chickens were. And Shotzi, the Schnauzer, and Tristan were still in the middle waiting to see what we wanted them to do. They're sniffing around. You know, there's a wild garden there with all kinds of tomatoes and peppers and squash growing everywhere, and interesting stuff to smell from the chickens. And my gosh, George, Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, actually he's a toy, what is he, an English toy spaniel. So his nose is even more smushy. And little, he's this high to Tristan. He goes nuts. He's chasing those chickens around and around and around and around and scaring the pants off of them. And they have never had an experience like this. They've only been like shooed a little bit by people, and with Shayna kind of dragging along on a leash. Well, we could not catch George, and my mom knows him well, and she was calling him and yelling at him. Didn't go in. Never heard a peep out of my mom. It was like no humans were there for George. And he just kept running and running the chickens in a circle around this pen, and they were so terrified. They went, some of them under the fence into the horse pasture. Well, we had Tristan. We weren't worried about catching them. But he finally cornered one and put his little paws on her and had his nose ready to bite her neck. And I grabbed his tail just at the right moment to get him away from her and tossed him over the fence. But boy, I just could not believe a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, who's a house dog, who doesn't even chase the cats, would go so nuts to chase chickens. And God bless Tristan and Shotzi, the Schnauzer. Shotzi was actually trying to get George to stop, because Shotzi goes out with my mom to do the chickens. She knows those are my mom's chickens and my mom loves them, and she's not going to eat the chickens. And I think it was upsetting to her to see George chasing the chickens. And of course, Tristan, he's a herding dog. He's not going to eat chickens. And he was waiting for me to tell him what to do. And thank God we had him, because after we wrestled George off of the chicken, we needed some help herding the chickens. They were all scattered and they were really nervous. So Tristan was really good, and he didn't scare the chickens too much, even though they were already really scared. And we were able to get them eventually back into their little pen, their coop. And my mom had to pick up a few of them that were just clinging to the bicycles with their feet. They were so scared. And then we got them all in. So the lesson in this whole story is that instinct is such an important thing to recognize in your animals. I mean, a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel has been a lap dog since Queen Victoria's time, 200 years or more. These guys, even before Queen Victoria, actually, that's why she had one, these guys have been lap dogs, but they are spaniels. Spaniels are a hunting breed. A lot of the other spaniels hunt birds and hunt rabbits. And so years of being a lap dog, centuries really, have not bred out that instinct in these Cavaliers to get chickens. And I find that amazing. Now, of course, I think with most of the spaniel breeds, they're retrievers. They're not supposed to kill the chicken. But George was really all about eating that chicken, and he's fed a good diet. It's not like he's hungry or anything, of course. But I was really impressed with what that instinct is for an animal, even after all these years. I mean, English Toy Spaniels are even less working dogs than Cavaliers. Oh, my Corgi's falling. So I found that amazing, and it was another lesson, like, do what your dog loves to do. Don't use your Cavalier to do herding, because clearly they are not going to be herders. And Tristan loves to herd, and he's a really good herder, and he really listens to me. And thank God, because those poor chickens were so unnerved. My mom and I would not have been able, in a short amount of time, to get those poor little birdies back into their roost so they could sleep for the night. And I guess they're all okay. And we inspected the chicken that George caught, and she was okay. But it was just amazing. I thought, you know, at the worst he would grab a few tail feathers, but just like a Jack Russell with a rat, he knew exactly what to do. So that's another lesson about honoring what your animals need to do and want to do. Yes, Cavaliers are good lap dogs, but apparently they're good field dogs too. And maybe George needs to go for more walks out in some less populated areas in the fields and really enjoy himself. I've never seen him move that fast. He's pretty old. He's like 10. So I don't know. Anyway, and I also could really appreciate a good herding dog. I mean, my herding dogs are my breed. I love herding dogs. I love their attitude. I love how they relate to people. I love that they don't kill things. And my sister has Cocker Spaniels too, and she's had a real problem with them. One of them went out, an old one, and like 15 years old, and caught and grabbed a squirrel in like 2 seconds when they were out in the yard, and the squirrel was stupid enough to, poor little thing, sitting there eating his nuts thinking, oh, they're dogs, they're old, they're doddering, and the light went on in that dog's head, and that squirrel did not have time to get up a tree. So hunting dogs are not for me. I'm not a violent person, so I can't have a hunting dog. I'll stick with a herding dog. And the Schnauzers have been bred for police work, and again, that connection with the person where they're going to do what you ask them to do. So my mom did not ask Shotzi to chase the chickens. She didn't, and I think Shotzi could see that my mom was trying to catch George, so she was trying to help out. So interesting too. I don't know that much about the ancestry of standard Schnauzers. And I know they're not really closely related to mini Schnauzers, which are a different kind of critter altogether. But really interesting lessons about what our animals, who they are, what their personalities are, what is going on inside them that, we love and what we don't love so much. And, just honoring what they need and making that a part of our lives with them is really, really important for our relationships with them. And this is one reason I don't have a cat, because I can't, first of all, I'm allergic to them. And second of all, I can't handle dead things on the doorstep every day. And I really, if I had a problem with rodents, I would get a Jack Russell. They are really just as good at catching critters as cats, and probably don't leave as much of a carnage when they're done. I've seen Jack Russells catch rats in a barn where giant big barn cats were terrified of the rats. Jack Russells are really effective vermin creatures, and so are dachshunds. I've seen the dachshunds my friends have. When they come over, There is a place in my yard where there's like an upturned bucket that goes down into where the propane tank is, where you need to fill it. And there is a little mouse that has lived in there in the winter sometimes and has perhaps even been still living there. But boy, those dachshunds, they smelled around. They went right over to that area and doing what dachshunds do best, dug at warp 8 through the ground there, dug up that thing and pushed it together to get it out of the way so that they could see if the mouse was still under there. And of course, that day he was under there, and he came springing up and took off across the lawn, and the dachshunds were very excited. And you know, they're really good at rodent control. I don't think these dachshunds' parents would want them eating a mouse or even chomping one, but still, it's really interesting what our dogs have been bred to do. And you know, so many people get a dog and just love the look of a Bernese Mountain Dog or a St. Bernard, and then don't consider the fact they live in a one-room apartment and you've got this huge dog that has no room to be who he is. And a lot of people who would be better off with a Chihuahua don't even like Chihuahuas, don't appreciate what they're good for. And Chihuahuas are great dogs for a lot of people, and they can be not as barky if you work with them early on. So, you know, it's really important to see what your animal needs and wants and honor that in your relationship with them. So that's the story from this weekend, and we will be back for the next several days with more conversations with a Corgi. I have so much chaos going on with my TED Talk right now. It's supposed to be mostly done by tomorrow, and I am still getting revisions and people's comments and you know, that place when you have so many people telling you what to do, or you're like, forget it, I'm just going to do what I want to do. And it's not like I'm an uninformed citizen. I know a lot about doing TED Talks, so I'm at the point where it's going to be done at noon today, and that's it. There's no more changes, none. And I have memorized a few pages of it, but theoretically I should have it all done by tomorrow, and that's not going to happen. And I've been trying to make the slides for it, which is another, as my sister often says, little nightmare with technology. Great thing, not always works the way you want it to. Since I updated my phone, we've had all kinds of chaos. I had no email over the weekend because my computer and my mom's network don't want to talk, and then my computer was cranky and didn't want to even connect with the hotel. It's not asking me for passwords when I try to connect with a network. It's just connecting poorly because I didn't give it the password. Brian was here for 4 or 5 hours on Monday, and I have my email back, so yay. Anyway, that's all we have to say today, mostly. And I'll talk more about the clinic, maybe tomorrow. But remember to honor what your animals tell you. It's so important to listen to them, from honoring their instincts, their innate breed-given skills and abilities, which may be herding, maybe catching chickens. And my friend I know does nose work with Shih Tzus, and they really have a good time. And because it's good for their body type and their size and her relationship with them, they love it. I don't know. Are Shih Tzus bred to be sniffer dogs? I don't think so. I don't know that they're related to beagles and dogs like that, but you know what? They're having a good time, and she can tell that, so she's doing that with them. Probably wouldn't want to do agility with them, so she's found a great sport. And they might even like rally, but that's pretty athletic. So anyway, look at what your dog or your cat or your bunny, they have bunny agility and bunny jumping now, and your horse want to do, and do that with them, because it will just make your relationship better, and you will have so much more enjoyment with your animals. So thanks for joining us today for another episode of Conversations with a Corgi. And we'll be back tomorrow morning. You see the eagle bis? Any vultures out there? It's warm and foggy here. Amazingly tropical feeling. Thanks for joining us today. Some Corgi has to get a bath pretty soon for his TED Talk. He says, no thanks. I don't think it'll be till the weekend. All right, we'll see ya. Have a great day, everybody. Missed you last week in P-Town. You know what? I did not miss P-Town last week. I do not like going there at this time of year. But I hope you had a good time, Dick. All right, we'll see ya.